Mrs. Edith Nordmann.
Thank you very much, Judy. Excellencies, esteemed guests, dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Edith Nordmann, and I'm very honored to be here today. In my practice as attorney at law, I'm involved in cross-border business transactions on a daily basis. What strikes me is that no matter how big the business partners are, they hardly ever think of their cultural differences amongst them. Why is that important? Let me give you an example. A Dutch company sold 200 fully equipped ambulances to Saudi Arabia. When the first ambulances arrived and were unpacked, the Saudi called the Dutch company and said that they have been truly insulted by what they had delivered. The Dutch didn't understand. They had sent state-of-the-art ambulances. The Saudi doctor explained, in your ambulance, you have an air conditioning installed. The big unit is on the ceiling. And from there, behind the driver, 2 side tubes connect the air conditioning to the outside air. When a patient lies in the ambulance and he looks up, all he sees is a huge, giant cross. For us, this is unacceptable. The Dutch company adapted the air conditioning accordingly. Knowing that cultural differences do matter, how can we harmonize cultural aspirations and stimulate growth in Europe in a common approach? One way to do so is by donating to institutions that are stimulating growth in various areas. There are many cultural institutions across Europe. Do they all have one common European approach? Last week, I attended a seminar about arts philanthropy at Utrecht University. The finest researchers and scientists from all over Europe gathered to share their findings about why people are donating to cultural institutions. Some found out that people feel connected to art, and by donating, they want to contribute to the greater good. Others had found that culture to people is like home to a family. A third finding was that people want to contribute to civic society, not just to give funds. They want to be involved, not just pay money. How do these findings help us develop an agenda for harmonizing the cultural identities in Europe? And how can we make sure that the growth we want to realize is genuine? Let me share another finding of last week's conference. In Germany, professionals have worked very hard over the past few years to get more fundings from households. They have put an enormous effort into this endeavor, and the result was zero. No growth whatsoever. How is that possible? The explanation is that fundraisers are told that their task is to raise more money. This works when they use a strategy of engaging people to contribute for victims. The sadder the story, the better the results. People do that. They feel sorry. But this is not how people get actually connected to a greater good. They give once, and they may even give twice. But then they get back to their normal life, and they feel that they have bought their peace. In order to make a difference on the long run, people have to get engaged. They need to feel that they can make a difference and inspire others to do the same. How can we do that in the EU with so many cultural differences? At the conference, the German scientist explained that people in Germany do contribute and engage for local initiatives. A concert hall in their own city, a new sports facility for kids in their hometown. But, and I quote, somebody from Hanover never gives anything to a charity in Bremen. Never ever, unquote. This was last week, not just 20 years ago. Can you imagine? But this local cultural connection is not only German, it is normal. It is what we grew up with. It's where we live and where we want to make a difference. We want to act where we can do something and see and make the difference. What does this mean for us? Should we forget about harmonizing cultural aspirations? No, on the contrary, but we should be aware that we should start at home, in our actual homes, by showing our children that we care about others and that we take initiatives. And by leading by example, we should make a difference in our towns and cities. We should share our findings and successes and the challenges with others, like last week in Utrecht and like we are doing here today. That way, we can get the strength, the courage and the motivation to continue our work and learn from each other. In many countries today, moral and ethical norms are being reconsidered. But harmonizing does not mean that national traditions and differences in nation and culture should be erased. On the contrary, we should not only respect cultural differences, but cherish them and share our values with others. We should truly be interested in the different cultures of our fellow European citizens. In order to empower people, they have to feel proud of where they're coming from, and they need a glimpse towards a hopeful future. This will stimulate genuine growth based on mutual respect and understanding. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we have all it takes to build a better and stronger Europe, based on cultural understanding and stimulating growth with respect for the cultural differences. We just have to get up and take all the initiatives, spirit and courage and do it. And then we will meet again and share our experiences and learn from each other. Thank you very much for your attention.
Very inspiring and hopeful words, I would say.
Edith, and I said, what does she think about the current migration? How will it fit in with this harmonizing cultural identities and aspirations with a shared approach? Is it now time for a new EU, this current migration? Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge Joyce, thank you very much for this very interesting question. It's not going to be an easy one to answer, and I don't even
Especially in 1 minute.
Exactly. I don't even want to pretend that I do have an answer, because otherwise I would be called directly to Brussels. And I'm very happy in Amsterdam, no problem. But I do think that there are two problems that we are facing here. The current migration is not only a cultural problem, but is, of course, a political problem, and how to deal with the political problem that people are running away because they're chased away from their safe homes and because they cannot be safe anymore. So there is one thing about how can we safeguard their security, and the other thing is how do we deal with them whilst they are here. So I don't think that it is time for a completely new EU, but it is time for self-reflection within the EU and looking at what we have done in the past, and if this has helped us for a hopeful future. And as it has been said in the first plenary session, people are afraid. And I think we can take away this feeling, or a bit at least, if we try to understand the cultural differences amongst all of us here in Europe. And this would we should start there and look at the personal stories like we are doing today. And then maybe we could take the fear away and get more respect for everybody within the EU. And from there we can go on. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Edith. I'm very, very sorry to have to cut this one short. I mean, to be honest,